Welcome to Below the Headline.
The political podcast that looks past the noise.
I'm your host Alicia, and I'm joined by Luca and Adam. Over the past few weeks, politics on both sides of the Atlantic has started to feel oddly familiar. Not because nothing has changed, but because old power structures are reasserting themselves in new ways. In the United States, Donald Trump has once again placed himself at the centre of political global uncertainty. His renewed rhetoric on China and trade threatens to reshape global supply chains, disrupt fragile economies, and pull allies, including the UK, into global choices. So today we're going to be talking about Peter Mandelson. We're also going to be talking about the Chagos Islands and China and US and the global stage. So let's start with Peter Mandelson.
Okay, so we've had a lot of controversy this week about Peter Mandelson with Keir Starmer. And is this the worst week for the Labour Party in recent history? I think so, yes.
Yes, certainly. I mean, Peter Mandelson, especially in the 1990s or so, he was an incredibly popular figure. He shaped a lot of New Labour's policies. I believe when New Labour was a big thing in 1997 to 2007 during Tony Blair's ministry, he was an incredibly prominent figure. He decided a lot of things behind the scenes, and he was actually the strategist behind New Labour. And so it's very interesting that he's now coming up as being associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
If I can just butt in there, Mandelson is not... he has seen a couple of scandals of his in his time himself, though, so... Yeah, surprised to see him on the Epstein files, maybe, although we did know about this earlier when he was appointed. Not to this extent. But I'll just offer some brief context. He has been in a couple of scandals in the past. I think someone gave him a loan for his house or something like that.
Yes.
Which is about 300 grand, something ridiculous. He didn't declare it. I think he was one of the only ministers to have resigned twice, and it was in like 3 years as well. So
this seems to be happening a lot with Labour MPs, it seems. I mean, Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves. I wonder if something's going to come up on Keir Starmer. But anyway, let's move on. So Mandelson was appointed UK ambassador to the United States by Prime Minister Keir Starmer in 2024, but was dismissed in 2025 after emails suggesting his Epstein connection was deeper than previously understood came to light. Now, I've read these emails, and I must say they are quite intimate and interesting. I certainly wouldn't recommend reading them, but yeah, so it does show the deep relationship that he did have with Epstein. And I think a lot of the problems at the moment is that he gave state secrets to Epstein. Of course, Epstein himself was a very popular financer.
So we've read all these that he's in all these. He's sent these government emails. I think he's taken £75,000 from Epstein. And when Keir Starmer's appointing him to be his ambassador to Washington, one of the highest, the best ambassador position, arguably. And he has seen this information, and he's saying, "Oh well, I was lied to." And the thing about this is, Keir Starmer said, "We're going to be a change to the Tories in a way, saying, they have all these scandals, Partygate, all this stuff, and Keir Starmer's trying to be the alternative. And yet, in his tenure as Prime Minister, we've seen all of these scandals unfold. Yet he's gone back on many promises anyway, which I believe he should resign about anyway, but this has got to be the final nail in the coffin for me.
Yes, certainly. I mean, Keir Starmer has faced a lot of controversy during his time. He apparently, according to polls, is one of the most unpopular prime ministers, which I must say...
I believe.
Yes.
Surpassed Margaret Thatcher.
To be
Liz
honest,
Truss.
that surprised me quite a bit, though, because I don't think he's doing a bad job at all. I mean, all of his foreign policy, he's going to the US, he's going to India, he's getting trade deals.
Never hear Keir.
Yes, of course. Well, that's a very popular phrase, but I don't think that it represents the kind of impact that he's doing. He's going abroad to help British people. So what do you think of Keir Starmer, Adam? How do you think he's done as a Prime Minister recently?
I don't think he's done particularly well at the minute, to be honest. He's gone back on his word. He's made many controversial decisions, not just now, but in the past, when he's had, particularly Mandelson, as we've been saying before, he knew he had some relation to the Epstein files, or Epstein himself. Why he put him in power at all, don't know, was it Secretary of Business? What was his position?
I think ambassador to the
Ambassador to
United States.
America.
But yeah, he had previous jobs as well.
He had, but this was in the 90s, I believe.
Oh yeah, no, he had incredible influence. So he was Director of Communications for Labour in the 1990s, Secretary of State, EU Trade Commissioner, and Business Secretary under Gordon Brown. So this is an incredible variety of very important roles in the UK. And yet he's associated with Epstein, which is absolutely shocking.
So, Alyssa, do you believe that Keir Starmer shouldn't resign over this Mandelson scandal?
The thing is that I might be a bit biased because I do think that Prime Minister Keir Starmer is doing quite a good job. However, when it comes to things such as Epstein, you know, a disgusting predator who sexually trafficked girls, and somebody in his government who he himself appointed being connected to Epstein, it does make me rethink who he is as a Prime Minister. Now, no Prime Minister is going to go without scandal, but this has been incredibly significant, and this is why all the news articles are covering it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, as we speak, Mandelson's house is being raided. So, I mean, I personally believe that this scandal is worse than Partygate. But, and Boris Johnson got sacked for that.
So I'd like to ask you, Luca, do you think that this is the end of Keir Starmer?
Yes. This is 100% got to be the end of Keir Starmer. The MPs are starting to turn on him. He's turned... Right, so let's talk about this. University fees. He said he would try and get rid of them. No, not anymore. He said he wouldn't raise taxes on working people. He has. Look at the farmers' tax. They U-turn every week. He has no backbone, and I think his MPs are starting to realise this. For example, was it? I can't remember what it was, but it was over Andy Burnham.
Yes.
And the NEC said, "Okay, we voted against that," and 50 Labour MPs wrote to Keir Starmer. I mean, this is showing there's a growing number. It could be the Rayner charge, it could be the West Streeting charge, but I think definitely his power is glooming. It's near the end. And I think this is the final nail in the coffin. I don't think he can justify with as many sorries what he's done, to be honest with
certainly.
you.
I mean, I don't know if you two have watched PMQs, but when he was apologising, it was just the same old. He says, I've been lied to. He says, I've been deceived by this person and that I should never have appointed him in the first place. You know,
Yes.
It's a very basic response. I don't feel as though he had any kind of anger or courage or emotions towards it, as you would if you find out that somebody you appointed in a very important position was associated with a paedophile.
And can I just ask any of the listeners at home, if you found out, right, if this was for a CEO job, and they said, okay, the board said, let's hire Mandelson, let's hire this guy who's been on the Epstein Island and is potentially a paedophile, or has been closely associated with a paedophile and has leaked our business's emails and secrets. Who in their right name would appoint him as the CEO, for example?
Well, exactly.
No one. It's just ludicrous.
Yes.
And yes, he may have been lied to. Still, I wouldn't associate with the man.
No, certainly not.
No matter his political power in the 90s. I don't think there's any coming back from Starmer for this. So,
And so, yes, maybe it's the end of Starmer.
what do you think about that, Adam?
I don't think it's quite yet the end of Starmer. However, if he has one more bad day, he's had many so far. He's had the mess up with the budget, the outrage over that, even though it wasn't really too massively different of the usual budget we've had in the past years. He's had Andy Burnham, the competition that's come from that. However, nothing really came from it. And then he's had most recently Mandelson. If he has one more day like this, I'm not sure he'll last too much longer as leader of the Labour Party.
Yeah, everybody thinks he's quite a tragic case.
I mean, Alyssa, you said earlier you liked Starmer. Why was that? If
Yes.
we can just talk
well,
on that briefly.
what I was trying to get on was that he is a lawyer. He was head of public prosecutions. And so he had quite an honourable job. He had to be quite honest, which, yes, I know what you're going to say.
Not
It's not been-
prosecuting Jimmy Savile.
I know. But my overall view of him was that he's an honest, trustworthy politician who's trying his best to make the country better. But my main wonder is why the media has attacked him so much. And I find that when we do have good prime ministers, they are attacked the most. And I wonder for what cause.
Can
Why?
I ask you what Keir Starmer's done that makes you think he's a good prime minister?
So
One of
as
the best of them.
I mentioned before, I was talking about foreign trade. He got tariffs removed from the US, I believe, or put down to 10%, which recently, of course, has been rebuked with all the things in Greenland. But he did originally get that put down by hosting a state dinner for Donald Trump and his family.
Sucking up to him, maybe?
Of course. But the thing is that there was results. And so even though we did have to suck up to him as a country, when are we not? As the UK to the US. It's what we
I just think it's
always done.
this argument from those on the left saying, oh, reform just licked the boots of Donald Trump, when look what Starmer's done. And I will just ask you, so he's got some good foreign trade, in your opinion. However, let's look at what's happening domestically. Gone back on many of his promises. The electorate, the people who voted Labour were thinking of voting in, when they voted for him, an honest man. So this honest man who is sort of the opposite of a Tory, squeaky clean. We've seen that not happen, especially with this latest scandal. He's also had the Lord Ali scandal. He's gone back on many of his promises. I mean, I don't see how his job is going to last, and I can't see how he's a good prime minister just because of a couple foreign policies.
You have some very good points, Luca. I don't know. I mean, compared to some of the prime ministers that we've had, say, for example, Boris Johnson, I think no prime minister is going to be perfect. He's never going to be the best prime minister there is. But in comparison to what we've had, 4 or 5 consecutive Tory MPs who I don't believe have done particularly well for the country.
No, I understand that, but I think if we held a vote today, people would say, "Oh, please, can we just go back to Boris Johnson at this moment in time?" I believe that to be true.
Boris Johnson
over Keir Starmer right now. I would say the majority of the public would agree with that.
Boris Johnson is a crook. I would never vote for him.
Well, Keir Starmer took bribes off Lord Ali.
You can't even compare Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson.
Gifts.
They're completely different people.
Disagree. I'm not. Oh, sorry. I'm disagreeing to the fact you can't compare the two. I'm not saying that they are completely different people. Obviously, you have the character of Boris Johnson and the boringness of Keir Starmer.
No, I'm very curious what you think are similar.
Well, let's look at the scandals of Keir Starmer. So the Mandelson one, the one that's just dropped recently, that is sackable anyway. Then let's look at the gift he received off Lord Ali. I mean, how can you compare that to Boris Johnson? I'd say this is worse.
It's terrible. I mean, he was part of the Oxford Union, which in no way is bad, but he was from this very elite background where he does not value. I mean, I heard things like he would burn £50 cash or something in front of homeless people, and it's the kind of precedent that this sets. These are the kind of people that they are. They're from these elite backgrounds, and they do not care about the poor. They do not care about taxation. They do not care about any of that. They simply care about lining their pockets.
We can talk about lining pockets and taxation. Keir Starmer lined his pockets with £7,000 spectacles, for one. And two, if we want to talk about tax, this is the man who ran on not taxing the working people and then has made working people struggle the most in recent years.
No, I agree. The tax has been
so
crazy.
I don't see how we can compare
well,
the two.
That's the thing, because they promised that they wouldn't tax. And then, if you bring in Labour, you're going to have a welfare state. You're going to have to give so much money out in benefits, universal credit, all of this, because they want to increase public spending. And yet they said, we won't increase tax. I mean, that was just ideological. That was never going to happen. I think that they shouldn't have said that in the first place. But of course, as any other politician, they're going to lie. Every single politician does lie, because their only goal is to get votes. Their only goal is to get power, and their only goal is to get money. And so it is very difficult as a politician to do well or to not lie. But I believe that the best politicians, and this may sound quite funny, but they may lie to get into power and then do actual good. So even though he has increased tax, he's done a lot of trade deals. For example, we just got free visas to China. He's also reduced, I don't know if it's tariffs, but he's reduced something that allows us to trade more freely with China, bringing more money into our economy.
The whiskey
deal, yeah.
The whiskey deal.
So I can't believe I see your points about this, but I can't believe we're basing off all of the bad things that are happening in the UK. That's all the tax rises in the 2 budgets ago, all the illegal immigration, all of the welfare benefits that are going out are failing society economically and everything, and then saying that we're basing that because but actually he's good, he should stay because he did get us free visas to China.
I don't think that we have a failing country at all. I mean, if you look outside of the media and you look at how people really live, we do have a very good country. I mean, it's not as crime ridden as people online say. we don't have such a big immigration problem. It's certainly a problem. I do not disagree with that. But it's not as big as a problem as the media makes it. Now, when you get entrenched in the media and you're constantly looking at it and you're constantly hearing all these big headlines, it seems awful. It seems catastrophic. But you've actually got to look past the headlines into your own lives. I personally...
Or below the headlines.
Below the headlines. Yes. But I certainly, in my own life, when I look past the headlines, I see that this country is a country of values, it's a country of dignity, and it's a country of very good people who I don't believe are all crooks. So when you talk about immigration and you talk about taxation and you talk about all the awful things he's doing, you must take into account that this is one of the best countries in the world.
I think if we're going to base how we judge Keir Starmer off of the tax and the immigration, we've got to look back at prior parties and politicians who've been in power. Boris Johnson, well, I don't have to say much on the immigration schemes he's had in. It's the most immigration we've had for a very long time. We look at Reform UK in a minute with most of their constituencies they currently hold power of. They promised not to increase council tax, and then they did increase council tax. It's not simply just looking at the one person, the one picture of this one politician. I think it needs to be more wide, and it's a common pattern. They never stick to their deals, particularly on tax.
No, certainly not.
This is a good point.
Okay, should we move on to the Chagos Islands now?
Yes.
Very interesting case. The Chagos Archipelago, a remote chain of islands in the Indian Ocean, was once a British colony, a small dot on the map with a big colonial legacy. Under British rule, it was considered strategically valuable, but its native Chagosian people paid the ultimate price. Today, these islands are the centre of a complex battle over sovereignty, military power, and human rights. So, Luca, how did the Chagos Archipelago become a British colony, and what were the key events in its colonial history?
So I believe in about the 18th century, the islands were pretty much uninhabited. Until French colonizers started establishing plantations. I think they were coconut plantations in around the late 1700s, early 1800s. And they brought in enslaved people from Madagascar and Mozambique to work here. So these workers and their descendants became the people of the Chagos Islands, developing the Creole language. I believe that to be correct. You can fact check me. And after the Napoleonic Wars, as we know, France ceded Mauritius, which at that time included the Chagos Islands.
Paris Conference.
Yep, to Britain. Sorry, and therefore this became a British colony, and it was part of the British colony of Mauritius for convenience, following the Napoleonic Wars, and now basically Starmer wants to give it away.
If we look back to the 1960s, 1966, about then, the US built a military base there. If we delve deeper into there, it's on the island of Diego Garcia. Here, a lot of people lived, quite a few. I mean, for the size of the islands at least, these were all forcibly sent out. They went to the Seychelles, they went to the other Mauritian islands.
Some of them came here, I believe, to UK.
Yeah, I believe so. And from this, and the UN looking over the ideas of the right to self-govern and the sovereignty of the islands, they have in 2019 in the International Court of Justice, I believe, they backed the idea that the Mauritius should have the islands. It's sovereignly theirs. So that's gone through now and it's been given over.
Well, yeah, certainly, because today international courts and the UN have ruled that Britain should return the islands to Mauritius. Yet the islands remained under British control. Keir Starmer has called on the government to respect international law and addresses the ongoing injustice, highlighting how this colonial legacy continues to challenge British politics even now. So what do we think about Keir Starmer wanting to hand it over? Is his hands completely tied by international law, or is he simply giving in to the Mauritian people?
I don't think he's giving in to the Mauritian people at all. I think it's more giving in to the UN, which, as it rightly should, it's a law. If it's been decided in the UN and you're a member of the UN, it's how it should go. However, Trump, quite often, knowingly, he's not a massive fan of international law, as we know, and quite obviously he's gone against this. And he says, I think he said recently, this is the best Keir Starmer could do with the recent deal for the lease.
No, but say this, Adam. This is a British territory. I mean, if the UN said for Britain to hand over Scotland, for example, it would not. And so, why does it make it any different that it's a foreign colony?
I think that's a different issue. I believe. I mean, the sovereignty of Scotland. It is a member of the United Kingdom. It is the United Kingdom from James I of England uniting the thrones after the death of Elizabeth. It was a legal binding thing that's happened, and the SNP haven't got in power. And I mean, if they did, they probably would split off. They would.
Thank God they haven't got in power.
Thank God they haven't. But I'm not sure they will.
And what do you think about this, Luca?
Personally, I'm against all these reparations style of deals.
Yeah.
Because why should I be repaying someone for something that happened 200 years ago? I just completely disagree with all of that nonsense, to be honest. And secondly, this is stupid economically. 101 million, is it for 99 years, which will make around 3.4 billion. I may have got those numbers. I'm pretty sure those numbers are correct. I don't see why we have to give them any money on a lease back. I don't see why we have to give the island away. International security. What's going to happen is the Chinese are going to end up on this island, put a big military base there. It's in a very strategic position, right? There's no other islands like that in the area that we have bases on, and it's international security. I mean, foreign whatever diplomacy with the Americans. It's going to tank our opinions. Donald Trump's opinion on us. It's going to give away 3.4 billion and let the Chinese take over Chagos and put a big base there when we don't have any others nearby.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money that we're giving towards the people.
I think it's right that we should give them the islands back. However, on the lease, I reckon we have to keep the military base. It's there, it's infrastructure. It's not just ours, it's NATO members. It's the US that owns it. That's why they have opposition. However, as Lucas stated, the £101 million, it's just, I don't understand why we should be paying them for giving them the land back. Well,
this is how it's framed. I don't know if it's really how it is, though. Of course, the media has framed it in that way, and of course Donald Trump is attacking it in that way, but I do believe that there's a lot more international law behind this deal that the greater public maybe isn't aware of.
Adam, why do you think we should be giving away this colony? You just said... You did just say that the US should be able to keep its base.
Well, they should be able to keep its base because it's there. It's a NATO member. It's a NATO ally. However, the reason we should be giving it back is one, it's been declared by the UN Justice Council that we should give it back, and we're a member of the UN. We don't want to be hypocrites and go on. We can't just say.
I, in my opinion, you're being a hypocrite by saying, let's give it away, but let's keep the big base there. The big base.
Yeah, this is true.
So it's either we keep all of it or we give all of it away. And in my opinion, the answer is clearly we keep it because we cannot risk our security. And I'm sure giving away that base, the Chinese will just come in and...
Yeah. But it's not directly going to the Chinese, is it? Who said the Russians will let
No,
the
it's
Chinese
not going to be... Well, look what's happened in Africa. They come in and build their massive motorways and then they take all the influence and political influence and all the farms and everything. So however, it will just happen there, I guarantee you that.
What is stopping us putting the clause in this deal with Mauritius? That the Chinese, no other nation can have a military base there other than themselves.
Well, the thing is, I don't think there's not much we can do about that because the Chinese don't come in and put their flag on the base. Like literally, they do it economically and.
Yeah.
But we have actually seen that Donald Trump has been quite critical of this deal recently. It's central to Western security, Diego Garcia. So you can see why Trump.
However,
wants to keep it.
I don't see the issue because he's still keeping the base. He's not losing the base. The islands aren't an issue.
So the base is going to be the thing that's leased back on 101 million a year for 99 years.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Mm-hmm.
So this is even worse that we're paying for the Americans' base, basically, which is stupid anyway. But I can see why Trump doesn't like this because he said about Greenland, yeah, I could put a few bases on it or I could own it altogether.
Yep, and
so
if not, then China and Russia will take it. Now, I'm quite curious as to whether you two have watched Trump's speech in Davos. Absolutely. It was just so awful. I don't think I've ever watched a worse speech before. Quite frankly, he talked about his invasion of Venezuela. He talked about how it's the best military operation that the world has seen and no other country in the world could do it. He talked about how America is the #1 country in the world. He talked about all of this. He was glazing his own country.
Do you not agree with that?
No, not at all.
You don't agree with bigging up your own country? So do you not agree with putting England for America first if you're American? Do you not believe in putting America first?
Now, this is a phrase that's been used quite a lot, make Britain great again or make America great again. And I just think that it's a little bit silly. Nobody chooses what country to be born in, and the kind of morals and ethics that you build from a country are not your choice at all. If you're born in, say, the West in America, you'll most likely be Christian. If you're born in the East, you're most likely to be a Muslim. Now, these beliefs are simply influenced from geography because of the country you're born in.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't put your country first, though. So, let me use an example. So, when you're in year 7, year 8, and year 9, or year 7 and year 8, you're doing lessons that you don't want to do, such as geography or history or whatever it is. You have to do all of them, or music. However, do you still want to do good in those? Well, no one wants to do awful in them, do they?
It's a very bizarre question, Luca.
So what I'm saying is, that is deeply unpatriotic of you to say that you shouldn't put your country first.
So my point wasn't
opinion.
that you shouldn't put your country first. My point was that Trump is being absolutely silly. He's taking an invasion into a country, kidnapping a president, in my opinion. And so he kidnapped Nicolas Maduro, of course. It was a military operation.
Yep,
and
the best one of recent times.
And he struck the capital, Caracas. And this kind of brute force goes against all of international law and the UN belief system. And so I don't understand how he can stand there in front of a group of people. In fact, Alistair Campbell actually booed him, which was quite funny. I heard on the rest of his politics, so he's an incredibly brave man to do that.
Funny, but we could go down a rabbit hole of what's happened in Venezuela.
We will come to that.
We will come to that eventually. But I mean, to be honest, he possibly went against international war, but for a greater good. So
anyway, should we now talk about China? Because quite a bit's happened. So now that the US has seemingly become an irrational partner due to Trump, it seems that Europe is turning to China. So recently, Keir Starmer went to China. Of course, we've already mentioned the trade deals that he has made, and other countries such as Germany and France have already been over there. And so I wonder, what does this mean for the future of, say, the US, China, and Europe's relationship?
I believe I'm not sure this is as much of a turning point as everyone thinks it is. It looks like with this trade deal is we're moving towards China. It's a replacement for America. I don't think it is. Politics are too different. History is too different, especially with the wars. Korean War, for example, we've actually had open conflict with them. We've had many other issues. And
you touched on a really good point there, Adam, and I wonder if our relationships are going to change. You mentioned that we have very different histories and ideologies, but I don't think that this matters economically. China is the largest economy in the world. They actually produce 30% of the CO2 in the world. They are an incredible industrial power. And so I don't think that our ideologies conflicting with theirs will make a big difference in that.
So the fact that the Chinese government puts people in labour camps, You don't think that should stop us doing business with them?
In a slight contradiction to what I said before, to be honest, the way our relationship with China has worked, and has worked since they've had their mass industrialization, is we trade with them, of course. We have most of our products at this point are made in China, but made in China, quite frankly. But I do not believe that our relationship will change. It will still be economic trade policy. It won't be anything more.
Well, exactly. I mean, so many politicians went against Keir Starmer going to China. They said that this is not our ally, this is our enemy. They have
100%
they have spied on us, they have committed espionage. So why on earth are we trading with them?
Oh, good question.
But the politicians do raise a very good point. It does not matter what we believe as a country if we can economically benefit from China, and they certainly want to economically benefit from us. Why not take those deals? Just because we get a little bit snuffy over people being in labour camps.
I mean, that is, in my opinion, an outrageous statement to say. But I won't go into that because that's a human rights issue and it's for another day.
Oh, quite frankly, let me just put out, I'm very in favour of human rights, okay? I do not support in the gulags or whatever they have in Russia and in China. I do not support labour camps at all.
But the Chinese recently have been, with this mega embassy and stuff, they're a threat to national security. I don't think Starmer should have gone there.
So the Chinese mega embassy, I believe that the UK is approved of that because they can keep an eye on it. It's not something that's going to dominate London. It's not something that they're going to use overly.
Okay, well, I think that they shouldn't be giving them this mega embassy.
Why is that, Luca?
Well, I think it's a threat to national security.
In what way?
They can spy on us, and they will spy on us.
But we will spy on them.
But But the thing is, that's our own country, and they're coming in our country. No, but they're coming into our country.
But do you not
and
believe
there's
that,
a big risk of them spying on us? And I don't know what more.
do you
I
not
can say.
believe that there's already spies in the UK?
I'm not sure it
Chinese
makes much of a
spies.
difference.
There are.
You know what else they say? Keep your enemies close. Sorry. Alex. You know what they say? Keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Well, I don't know if you've heard about this scandal in a university where...
That was in
Chinese-
Sheffield University.
Was it?
Yes.
So Sheffield University, there was Chinese spies in it. They came over and they spied on the British pupils, which is very interesting. And so a big prominent thing, such as a Chinese embassy, I do not believe that it's going to cause more of a risk than actual Chinese spies in the country. The British Parliament is very aware of this mega embassy. What they are not aware of is the people already in the country, around the country, who may be getting information. And I don't know if you've heard recently, there have been a lot of spying on MPs themselves.
There has. So you've just raised some very good points. So why are we letting them have a massive base in London,
As
which
I've
they
said
can
already,
use to further develop their spying?
yeah, it's a very good point. But then again, do you not think that there's British diplomats in China?
There is, but I don't see a British massive super embassy in China, and I do not think they would allow it.
Now, I think that this is the same argument as the mega mosque at the edge of the Lake District that has caused a lot of controversy. When it seems such a big thing, it is actually quite little in large scale of things. This
Do you mean that in the size of the mosque or the...
I mean it in the political sense. So it is not as big as people are making it out to be.
Oh, I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
On the mosque or on the Chinese embassy?
Both.
On the mosque, they've put a massive... How much is it going to be? 5 million.
It's going to be quite a bit, yes.
But, however, I don't think they should still be putting a mosque in the British countryside.
Oh, come on now.
No, that's what I believe.
Okay, well,
Yes, you can practice your religion freely. 100%, I agree with that.
it's on the edge of the Lake District. I don't believe that it causes...
Well, yeah, it's in a lovely walking area. I don't
To
think
be
it should have been
honest,
approved.
With buildings, I don't really care what's going on in the building. I just care what it looks like, and if it's nice, or it's nice, or if it's not, it's not.
But could you imagine if someone said, okay, middle of the Lake District or wherever it's going to be, let's build a massive factory. It's going to have people going in and out, especially on Fridays when people want to go for walks. It's going to take a lot of building up there. Let's look at it from a green perspective. Why should we be building it there? I completely disagree. It should be put there. Yes, put a mosque somewhere else, but not there. Same for the embassy. We should not be allowing the Chinese, a big embassy like this. Sorry.
So the Lake District is roughly 1,607 times larger than the Grand Mosque. So this is an extremely small and irrelevant thing, in my opinion.
How dare you call a mosque irrelevant? That is a person's place of worship.
As I was saying, we are, of course, a multicultural country, and people of all religions are going to practice their religion no matter what we do. For example, I was in Manchester Airport a few months ago, and I saw people praying in the corner. That's completely fine. I went a few months later, and they'd actually created a praying corner so that these people could pray freely. This is the kind of country that we live in. It's very accepting. It's very...
Can I raise a point on that, please?
Yes.
There has been a Catholic lady, who's been arrested outside of an abortion clinic for silently praying. So now they've made a law that says if you're in a certain radius of the abortion clinics, you're not allowed to stand there, you're not allowed to protest, and you're not allowed to pray. So we say we're a welcoming country, yet you're not allowed to pray outside an abortion clinic. So if we talk about this, imagine your home is in that radius. So apparently you're not allowed to pray outside your house. Yet we allow
You're taking
a
that
massive...
a little bit out of context.
No. Yet we allow a massive mosque in the Lake District. Now, it's not about it being a massive mosque, although it will cost 5 million. It's the fact that should we put any building there? The council seems to think so. I disagree, having looked at it. And two, you say it's a very small thing. This is true compared to the size of the Lake District, but it's not the size of the mosque. It's the political and the principles behind it, in my opinion.
I get what you're saying, and especially when it comes to praying outside of an abortion clinic, it's a very interesting point you've raised. I haven't heard of this personally, but I believe that they're more getting on to
Isabel Vaughan Spruce.
I believe that they're getting into pressuring people into doing things that they don't want to. So if somebody is outside of an abortion clinic, no matter their religion, and they're saying, you can't get an abortion because you're evil and you're all this, and it's disgusting, and it's really going to put people off. And in the...
Good.
In the oh, goodness.
It is right to free speech, though.
Sorry, yeah.
What?
In the UK, we do have right to freedom of speech. It's in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, freedom of expression. And so, of course, people are allowed to have opinions. They're allowed to say, I don't like abortions. But if they are directly affecting people who want to have abortions, they should not be doing that.
So, however, this lady was silently praying. I will send you the video onto the Below the Headlines group chat, and I advise those at home to search up Isabella Vaughan Spruce, arrested outside of an abortion clinic for silently praying.
Yeah, no,
She didn't say a word.
That's completely odd. I don't know why
It is odd.
that would happen.
And she won the court case, and I think she was awarded £20,000, but she got arrested again, or she's going to court again soon. So
Wow, that's just bizarre. It's completely dystopian.
it is.
Of
So
course people
that
have
is
the
one
right
of the
to play.
reasons that I base my my principles on the mosque, that we shouldn't have it, because if we look at cases like this, silently praying, yet yes, you can have a massive mosque in the middle of the countryside. Now, in no way am I saying there shouldn't be mosques in England. I agree with that, freedom of religion. But if we're saying no, you can't pray there, but yes, you can pray there, then I think that's totally wrong.
Yes. Okay, should we wrap up for today?
Yep.
Great.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much for coming on. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This episode is sponsored by Montrose Health Group.
They offer personalised ADHD and mental health assessments, both in person and online.
If you're looking for trusted care, visit them at montrosehealthgroup.com to book today.